Welcome, dudes. Oz. Whoever's here, I don't know if Oz will be here, but alas, I'm responding to this video because I immediately had things that I thought I would add to the discussion. He's talking about Jimmy Corsetti, Bright Insights, videos about the Ricard structure, and discussing the potential of chevrons. And he found them here. I can't quite find them. I believe him, but I looked around. I haven't really looked for chevrons around the Earth, so it's not like something I'll immediately pick up on unless they're real blatant. Like, real blatant. Like, I can see them. Like, if we go over to, I'm pretty sure they're here. Like, blatant. Somewhere. It doesn't matter. They're around. Maybe down here. Where? I feel like they were on, for sure they're in Madagascar. I'm just not. Maybe they're way smaller than I was looking for. Okay, before I get caught up, it doesn't matter. Point is, I wanted to respond to this. So he said a potential impact site here, which is interesting. He found chevrons here and here, which yeah, so I commented, hey Oz, and I bring up, well, since we're talking about impact sites, since we're talking about it, of relevance is that the KT boundary had 15 of them. Like, we say that there's just one. Maybe at this point we acknowledge there's a couple, like people are aware of a couple, but I'm aware of 15 because I looked for them. That are technical papers about the KT boundary having some impact structure, and here they are. You can find them in scholarly papers. Certainly all the dates are not all like everyone's agreeing that this is KT boundary impacts, but like they're saying technical reasons for that. Anyway, the point is, and then many of these are formed at coastlines, and if you look closely at confirmed impacts, you will find that an extremely high percentage formed along the coastlines, which is kind of weird considering like the Earth has a lot of land. Like it's just an impact, so it doesn't really make sense for it to just arbitrarily hit at the coastline all the time. It doesn't make sense. Like, it needs a mechanism, and if it's just like an impact from space, unless we come up with a mechanism, like it's like a magnet and it like magnetically pulls it to that place, maybe there is a mechanism and it actually has some impact. Like parallel, I don't know. I lean towards that. It's just an internal Earth impact, which I go on to say pretty much. So I basically said, here's some videos I have about on the non-random distribution of impact craters. They're not random. Here's some locations. Here's just for instance, there's certainly more. This really tells us that they are actually caused by the Earth's own processes, are not actually impact craters from the cosmos, because they would not preferentially hit the coastlines and participate in the Earth's mechanics. They were purely coincidental impacts from space hazards. Rather, they are impacts from the internal Earth's flows that transmit energy upward with enough force to dent the crust above and divide it like unbuttoning a shirt if enough energy and points are influenced. So like sometimes there's a impact like here, or like down here, like there's one over here somewhere, which is actually in this big old hexagon, so it's almost like breaking. It could break it apart, it just didn't have enough of them. But like over here, maybe it opened it more, something going on here, although the dating of this stuff is probably not, I don't know what to make of it, but in line with other things. But so then I looked over here just real quick, and I don't see anything especially. I guess generally around here where it's pointing to, I do notice almost a little bit to the side right here, 19.07, 36.61. So he's pointing to right here. So that's not here. So it's not in the data there. 19, it's kind of like over here. Whatever that structure is, somewhere over there. This. Which has also, it may be like there's multiple rings, and maybe they even go this way and then over this way and this way, like little discs, like shallogram things that are not just even, not necessarily discs, but can become oblong, elongated, and then, but then they're like curving around a bend like a snake shape. So then I go on to say, so when it comes to this location, I think it does have the appearance of an impact, but very importantly, they're not impacts, but it has an appearance of whatever those things are. There's a curving band. So then I started talking about this right here, this width, which is kind of centered in here. This thing is kind of centered to this width, which then goes down here and then over this way, and then it has this like upward projection here, and then this downward thing, but within this upward projection with a downward thing of this overall upward projection here. Overall upward projection with a downward thing, and inside of it, like at the overall peak, even almost like, so I said that, I think I said this, let me see if I said this. Let's just read what I said here. So when it comes to this location, I think it does have an appearance, but there's a curving band in the Mediterranean seafloor that starts surrounding the node, and then it goes south, and then bends eastward at Africa. This then projects back upward to the island of Crete, where there is another such node centered at here, below the center of the island. So interestingly, below, not just like this part of the island, but pretty much exactly center of this island. This almost looks like two waves, like kind of like this, where like they either interfere with one another or they additively amplify, making a sort of energy node or chakra point. So it goes up, adds here, but then cancels here at the peak of this one, but not at the peak of this one. Like it looks like overall there's another one that goes like this, generally speaking, that's kind of like a V shape. And this V shape and this V shape interact and produce this chakra point, this connection point, this node that then connects back to this node. So like this thing's connected through. But then if we continue, if following this way, it does kind of go down right here, which is kind of circular. So it's almost like a circle, maybe another, like in here, there's maybe shapes also. I don't know. This can be followed still, where it looks like this shape bounces off of Crete and goes back to Africa enough to have an overall W-like shape. So it doesn't do it like over here where there's this big open section. It's much smaller here, but it basically goes down, hits resistance, goes up, hits resistance, goes down, hits resistance, goes up. And then over here, again, another node. This one's bigger. It goes all the way up this way and around, and then the center is kind of like half in the like increasing terrain and half down in the Mediterranean, and then it has a ring and a ring, maybe even a subtle rings out even further here. And then it seemingly just kind of unclear, maybe goes over here like that and connects to where the earthquakes were, which is what I basically said. And then when I was like, okay. Then I added, I'm going to make a video now because there's a lot of things of this nature here that are worth noting. Like this shape here, like it goes up here to like a peak across this way. So there's kind of like a circle here. And then there's another one that's above it so it's almost like overlapping circles, like the flower of life kind of concept. Although this one actually ends up taking more of like a hexagonal shape down here, and that tends to happen in things. But if we look closely, this shape here, like it's also here. So like 1, 2, there's a chain of them going across this way with this maybe a connector, smaller thing that forms in the middle, and kind of like a Venn diagram or whatever it's called. And then if we go across this way, like there's another center, and then seemingly like things coming out of here with the rings out this way. That just goes across there. And then over here, maybe one like here that looks kind of like it has more galactic, like in a galactic arm, like a galactic shape more so. This one, the nice little triangle shape forming out of it too. Like these things are relevant. I'm not quite sure what to make of it. I guess waves doing this that are then of different like magnitudes, amplitudes, that then create different divisions within it, and then also different boundaries. Like there's one on the outer edge of it, I guess, that's just riding along the boundary. It's like goes up maybe along here this way generally to here, or just from here, like energetically this maybe the way this is kind of feeds maybe into here. So maybe something to do with this V-neck thing. Energy like focuses through here, creates like a seashell shape off of it that ultimately has an overall circle shape, but has this opening feeding through that then like leads into this channel. I don't know. Where energy that propagates through here ended up doing that at some point. I don't know. Probably something to do with just the shape of the container, where it's just like energy is just bouncing around and getting trapped in certain sections, opening up certain sections to get into other sections, and just shaping the region in a way that produces these kind of equilibriums in the energy. Certainly it's related to, if we go over here, there's a flow coming down this way, a current that flowed through this region, separated this way, and then this current separated again here and went this way, wrapped in here and went this way. But it also went across this way and through here. I think especially creating this is like a valve kind of thing that's blue like a gasket that then created Turkey's support structure in a more that way, although like here's that hexagon, there's a lot of blue here, a lot of this here, so it's all where the earthquakes were around this. I guess it kind of makes sense if there's this kind of jagged point relative to the surroundings in that region. I don't know. But then, let's see. Here. Across here. Ish. It's not as detectable in this, which is kind of interesting. It's in there, it's just not as detectable. For sure, it's like somewhat present. That's interesting. Little hexagon with a center point. That reminds me of this, speaking of seashells. Or whatever this is. I don't know what this is. If it was ever a seashell, or if it's... I mean, I don't know. Reminds me. Oops. Like, literally, the currents that formed this thing were very similar to the currents flowing here. So it's like there's a current physically flowing under it or over it that then goes through a, like, carved out short circuit because the pressure is building too much. Like, if it didn't have an opening, it wouldn't have somewhere to drain through. So, like, it just creates one at the center of a system like this. Or it creates a mound with a void around it. Like, in this instance, it's more of a mound with a void within it. But in some instances, it's more like a mound with a void around it. I'm just thinking what I can, like, this current coming down this way, it goes literally here, like across here, and then probably this way, generally speaking, like flowing into here, and just interact, maybe flowing all the way across here, like there. Certainly participating in the hexagon or pentagon shapes. Like, here's a hexagon with a circle, pentagon with a circle. Like, there are really a bunch of things of this nature just laying on scales and magnitudes where it's hard for us to even recognize the similarities. Like, I wonder if these... Like, it's even got, like, little mountain peaks. It's hard to see. Hard to see, but it's got little bumps, which maybe are reminiscent of things of this nature versus things more of this nature. But I made a video about these recently. Let's see your videos. Relevant videos. I mean, pretty much all of them, but this one, Triangulating the Past, is the one about that. Okay, that's all I'll say for now, probably. I just wanted to add to the conversation. For sure, there's something going on in this area. Oh, I just noticed this here, the center here with another center, but it's like elongated. That's interesting, like eyes, like cat's eyes. Not really looking like a cat, but like... What do owl. What does an owl's eyes look like? No, they're straight up round. I think this is just a feline thing. Like, vertical slit. Dogs, cats, vipers, geckos, crocodiles. How do I not know dogs? Come on, man. Come on, man. Dude. Crocodiles and some birds. Some birds. Birds. Whoa, it really looks reptilian. pardon me. But yeah, it looks like in this area, like almost like it's opening a gap, maybe by like a small node and then a bigger one over here. I'm not sure. It does look like there's a center there. Maybe here, and just kind of shoved material into another corner. Maybe that's how it works. Like a big, like this amount of material to start in this smaller triangle or line space, whatever, smaller space. That maybe this was just closed up more so, relatively speaking. And then okay, and then maybe it just starts to blow the buttons to open the region, and not like the entire Earth, but just a stretch of the Earth that then, like, the end result is a triangle shape. Okay, that's all. I'm gonna stop now. Peace out. See y'all later.